All right, start the recording. Yay. Anyway, yeah, today's the 22nd of April, 2024. I had big plans for today. None of those have happened yet, so here we are. I happened to look back on the channel. I was curious. I couldn't remember exactly when I had built the house, which is funny. So I went back and it's actually been almost 5 years. It's coming up on 5 years now of when I built the house. So yeah, that's kind of surprising. But I've got a whiteboard over yonder and I've marked off a few things of like when did I actually get here? Uh, I moved here in April of 2017. So yeah, that's crazy. Um, I can't remember the last time I've lived in one place for so long. The running joke with my parents is they would always write down my address with a pencil in their address book, or sometimes they just put stickers over the old one and write down a new one or whatever. So yeah, it's been a while since I've been in one place for this long. Although uh, while here, I there we go. I lived in my truck a few different times, like in El Paso. Instead of driving back and forth, I would just camp in the truck at the Walmart or wherever. When I was working for the Postal Service, I camped in their parking lot because it was secure. And I talked to the manager and explained my situation. They're like, "Yeah, that should be fine," which was nice because then I could walk in and use the restroom if I needed it or whatever. Other times, yeah, I just camped at the Walmart parking lot or um, there was truck driving school where I went over near Dallas. I forget how long that was even, but I when I left the Postal Service, I went truck driving school. Then I came back and I built the house. And then as soon as I had the house finished, I went and got the job at the Sam's Club, where I was just picking up shopping carts and again lived in the truck because it was just too far to drive home every night. Um, I'd come home on my days off usually. And after that is when I decided I already had built the house. The only reason for the job practically was I was going to work to pay for gas money to get to work and to pay my insurance. So that's when I came up with the idea that I really didn't need the truck anymore. So I sold the truck and I sold the truck in again on the whiteboard. April April 19th is what I wrote down, 2020. Yeah, so basically 4 years I've gone without the truck now. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Well, 3 years, 21, 22, 23, 24. Yeah. Okay, so 4 years. So I've kind of proved I didn't need the truck. Um, so that kind of brings up a kind of a funny thought. I've gone back and forth on this a few times, and one idea is, well, eventually I would get another vehicle, and maybe I still will. But what I've realized, if I haven't needed the truck since then, the biggest reason to keep the truck was to haul drinking water. Well, I've gone for 4 years now without hauling drinking water. Um, Also, things like when I went on the 2022 ride, I was gone for 6 months. So that's something that kind of pops up every now and then. It's like I can travel without having a vehicle if I take the bicycle. Okay. So that has become kind of a realistic possibility for me because I proved that I did it. I was gone for 6 months and I did about 4,000 miles. Okay. Just recently, I had to go into El Paso to take care of some business, and I have gone to El Paso in a day on the bicycle. I should say this is the electric bike. Um, but it's a stretch, and what I've found is between here and El Paso, there's a lot of places that get really windy. So it's kind of like if you don't have any wind, you can do okay. If you come around a corner and you realize you got 30 miles of headwind, you're probably not going to make it. Um, if I have good wind conditions, like no wind or tailwind, I can make it there fairly easily in a day. It's about 100 miles from where I live to wherever I end up going in El Paso. It could vary a little bit, but I have done it in a day in daylight. But I've also had 3 or 4 times recently where I expected to go to El Paso and got 20 miles and gave up and came back and then tried it again a few days later, got a little bit further and realized I just wasn't going to make it in time. So, yeah, so it's kind of on the edge of what's practical. This last time, I changed kind of how I did things a little bit, and I went to a town called Fabens, which is about 20 miles before El Paso. And by leaving at first light, I got to Fabens fairly easily, got a motel room for 2 nights, rode the next day from Fabens into El Paso, and then had plenty of time to do what I needed to do, and then came back to the motel, stayed, and I was there by noon practically, I think, on that one. So it was like a 70-mile ride day one, 40 miles day two, and then 80 miles day three, because I had actually been working at the motel here in town, and so I stayed at the motel instead of coming home that night. So that gave me a 12-mile head start kind of thing. That's an hour basically. I usually figure I can go about 10 to 12 miles an hour. With good conditions, I can go faster. With bad conditions, you're going 7 or 8. Even with the electric, you're just, the wind is pretty strong out here. Uh, my wind what I've been finding is I have an easier time going up the hill than I do going against the wind. The wind is stronger than the hill out here. When I was looking back at the channel to see when I built the house and realized it's been 5 years now, or so when I looked back at the old videos, it was a reminder for me that I really would like to do kind of a this is where things are video 2 or 3 times a year. And it was just kind of fun looking at that video because the one video I looked at was the one where I had just started building the floor of the house and I had just built the little shop outside that I used to store some of the materials for building the house. And so the shop was brand new, the house was just a floor, and different things were in different places. And there was a few things that I haven't seen for a while, and I'm like, oh yeah, I used to have that, or I probably do still have that, and I don't know where it is now, kind of thing. So I thought, well, it'd be just kind of a fun thing. Now it's getting, we're kind of into spring, the weather's warming up finally. It's still windy all the time, seems like. So uh, this video today is just kind of me walking around and getting some shots of where things are and what they look like. I also got a shot of the old camper shell and that was painted with an elastometric paint. Um, OSB should be protected. It's not really meant to be out in the weather. Um, so that has survived in better shape than the unpainted OSB. So I can kind of see, before and after kind of a thing. The camper shell is, I'm going to be giving it to somebody that's doing a dog rescue. We thought, well, I'm not going to use it anymore. And it was made to fit a specific year of truck. So unless I happen to get the same truck I already sold, it wouldn't fit right. So I made it specifically to fit that truck. And you always see if you get somebody with a camper shell, if it's not made for that truck, it doesn't line up right. It just looks really weird. So, and this one's starting to fall apart. So, if it shelters some dogs for a year or two before it falls apart, well, that's, I got my use out of it. So that's going to a better place. Hopefully the dogs appreciate it. Otherwise, that's kind of it. Just a kind of a quick walk around and see what's going on. All right. That's it for now. Sorry, it's been a while since I posted a video. Um, there's a good chance of some one way or another, I'm probably going to leave for some kind of an adventure later this year. Um, you get stir crazy staying here after a while. So, yeah, one way or another, I'm going to pick up and go somewhere probably. And when it happens, you'll probably eventually see it. Yeah. All right. That's it for now. Stay tuned. Bye. And thanks for all the support.